Grab your drinks and preheat your ovens. Time for Chuckin Muffins, and what a great time it is to be a New York Rangers fan. Have they taken Alexi Lafreniere with the first overall pick in this year's NHL entry draft? How you
Yeah.
feeling about that, Ethan?
Well, we all kind of saw it coming, to be honest here. But the draft in general, I thought it was a decent draft. It's all right. Top 15 was kind of unpredictable as we thought, and as the draft went along, we kind of realized that it was kind of unpredictable. A lot of names went to a lot of unsuspected teams. Like the first three, we kind of knew, but everything after that was kind of a bit of a wild card.
Yeah. Um, yours better than mine, but our mock drafts were way off. Mine,
Oh
mine
yeah,
fucking sucked. Like mine was
ours.
terrible.
I got the top three right. I'll take that. And
Yeah,
I think I got five or four or five picks right.
I literally didn't
Five.
even get out of the top two. I got to pick three, and then it was like, nope, fuck you. I was
I
like,
think I
okay.
had Lundell at 12. I think I had Holloway at 14. And then I got the top three, and that was it. So
Yeah, I literally like I was so certain Askarov was gonna go to the Wild too, just because of like the fact they just traded Dubnik.
yeah. They
And
went who they go Rossi?
yeah, they got
Well, yeah, they went
mhm,
Rossi.
yeah.
That makes sense for them. So they would ask her up to nine. That 11 rather, my fault for the
Yeah.
Preds. I didn't think he was going to go to the Predators, honestly. I thought they had Soros. I thought our goalie was kind of, known for the future, but hey, Askarov was better. So
I agree.
room for improvement. And also, so we'll start out. I guess we'll start with trades that happened. So before the drafts, Max Domi got traded for Josh Anderson and a third round pick. What are your thoughts on that move from
Mark
Montreal?
Bergevin really shit the bed on that one. It's
Yeah,
probably the best way I could say it.
that was a rough trade. I don't know what he was going for. Domi, he's got 70 point season under his belt. He's proved for at least one season he can be a number one center. So he's gonna go to Columbus. I think he'll fit great in Columbus. He just signed a nice contract extension, nice 2 year deal. So I think it's gonna be a great center punch in Columbus with Dubois and Domi. So I think that'll work out for them. But for Montreal, they get Josh Anderson. Uh, he scored 27 goals, I think 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember which one. This year he was just injuries, just destroyed his season. His shoulder was messed up. I think he had something else. Maybe his hip. I think I'm wrong with that, but yeah, he was all beat up. So maybe he comes to Montreal and prove everyone wrong and have a great season. What do you think?
I just I just don't get his logic of sending over a third rounder too. It's like, all right, well, you're already robbing me at gunpoint here, so why don't I just give you the whole cream of the crop and I'll give you the third round
No, they
pick
got a
too.
third. Montreal got a third.
Montreal got a third. Are you positive?
Positive. Wait,
Pretty
no,
sure.
Columbus got a third.
That's what
Columbus
I'm
got a
saying.
third.
I was gonna
That's what I
say,
meant.
I'm
I meant
pretty
Columbus got a
sure
third. No, but that makes. Oh, actually, wait.
that does not make sense because
No,
Columbus.
Montreal got the third. Montreal got the third. Let me just make sure. Hold on. I'm pretty sure Montreal got the third though. Uh, if not, then I'm wrong.
Almost positive the Canadians sent over a third round pick with
That's just
Max Domi.
stupid.
That's what I'm saying. It makes zero sense. Made
Uh,
no sense at all in the first place, and now it's like even worse.
where is this? Wait, God damn it! Did it happen today? You guys know it happened yesterday.
The trade happened yesterday.
Um, and pass it. Like, did you find? Have you found it yet or no?
No, because every fucking article is super vague and just says it was straight up, which is not true. There was definitely a third in there, and I'm almost positive that it's for Columbus next year. And if I go to cap friendly, what was it, a third?
Mm-hmm.
So
No, Montreal gave Columbus the pick.
there we go. So I was right. That's what I'm saying.
What?
Like,
What
what
are
the
they
fuck?
doing?
Like, seriously, what the hell are they doing?
I don't know. I mean, they could prove us wrong. Anderson could fit in great. It could be like the whole Pacioretty trade. I'm pretty sure everyone thought Montreal lost the Pacioretty trade when that happened. But then again, they really didn't get like a return for Pacioretty. It was more of a 1-for-1 swap.
They didn't get
So
much for Domi either.
no, that's what I was saying. They did a 1-for-1 swap for Domi, not Pacioretty. So yeah,
Whatever.
I don't know. We'll see what happens on that trade. I think it could work out for Montreal, but I definitely like it for Columbus though. Columbus definitely wins that trade. And another trade went down today actually. Matt Murray's on his way to Ottawa. Pittsburgh Penguins.
Rest in peace, buddy.
Yeah. He's a young goalie. He's got a bright future ahead of him. It makes sense for a team to Ottawa, like Ottawa to pick him up. Just makes sense for them. They don't have a future starting goalie, so and that is Murray. So I think it works out for Ottawa. Pittsburgh, they really didn't get a return. You got a second round pick,
Yeah, and a
and I'm pretty
prospect,
sure
like
it
a
was it
very
was a throwaway prospect. I'm
yeah.
pretty sure. So, I like it for Ottawa. They had 4 second round picks this year, so can't hurt to give one up for a goalie.
Yeah, and Ottawa won the trade obviously, and
Mhm.
given how much cap space they have, they can obviously sign him considering he's an RFA this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, overall I think just a good move by Ottawa. Hopefully they can get something going while they have him in net.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully they lock him up long term also.
Yeah.
So they'll have a goalie there for a while. Another trade that went down yesterday. Nick Bonino is on his way to the Minnesota Wild. And
Um
hmm,
what did they send over for him?
Luke Kunin. And Minnesota got the 37th pick and the 70th pick, and Nashville got the 101st pick and Luke Kunin. Nashville wins this trade. I don't
I
really know
think
what
so
Minnesota's
too.
doing. I
Well,
mean,
to
I
be
get that
fair,
they traded Koivu, they traded Stahl, so they need a veteran centerman to replace him, but you're trading away a centerman in Luke Kunin. Why would you rather not have the young player
I was
play
gonna say a younger one
rather
if I'm not
than the older
mistaken.
player making 4.5 or 4 million, something like that?
4.1.
Yeah, like
They're
I don't
literally
know.
going backwards at this rate.
They got a draft pick.
Y-
They got the 37th pick, but mm, I don't know. I like that for Nashville. They get a centerman, a young kid who can come in and maybe play in your top six. And Minnesota gets an aging third line center, making 4.1 million.
Yeah, and they definitely needed Kunin just based on the he's 22. He's an RFA this year, so maybe try and get him for a decent amount of time and low amount of money, like something like what Gerard has, because his ceiling is so high. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yep.
So you might want to try and do that. But again, he's only 22, so he can develop into a center that they need because they just got rid of Kyle Turris.
Oh yeah, the
And
Kyle Turris. Right?
yeah,
Yeah, Kyle Turris. He's
there we go.
making 8 million, 2 million for the next 8 years. That's a lot
Yeah.
of money for a lot of years.
Just to not play
Yeah,
for the
right.
Predators. 2 mil plus, which I'm certain he'll land somewhere. So 2 mil
No, he
plus
will. He definitely will.
2 mil on top of
Yeah. So
whatever he
no,
ends up signing.
Turris would take a cheap deal if he took like $1 million deal for this year for next year. Still making $3 million.
Something cheap, yeah.
So why not take $1 million contract on the Tampa Bay Lightning? Go win a cup.
Exactly.
You're making 3 mil a year basically because you get bought out money. So
Yep.
yeah, we'll see what happens with that situation. And the last trade that happened during the draft period, Elias Anderson gets moved to the New York Rangers for the 60th overall pick. You being a Ranger fan, what are your thoughts on that?
I honestly I got more than what I was than expected, to be honest, because Anderson, I don't know what it is. Like he just doesn't
He never
pan
panned
out.
out.
Like
Yeah,
yeah,
he never panned out for him.
he just doesn't really fit in the NHL. I feel like he had a lot of problems with New York. Like he went under a lot of personal issues, and that's probably why he couldn't
Mm,
do anything on the ice. He didn't want to stay in New York, so obviously the Rangers had to get rid of him for something. Puljujärvi just re-signed in Edmonton, so
yeah,
obviously
we're gonna get to that in a little
Puljujärvi for
bit.
that straight up isn't going to happen. So the 60th overall pick was that's probably
Not
one of the
bad.
best returns we could have got for him. So I think it was a great trade for the Rangers
Mm,
and a great trade for the Kings because if he does end up panning
yeah.
out into something, maybe a bottom six forward, that's a hole filled in for them.
like for LA, that's a high risk or low risk, high reward trade for them.
Exactly.
Uh, the thing with LA, he can play in LA. Like you can throw him in the top six next season. Honestly,
Exactly. That's how
yeah, he'll
much
get
help
playing
they need.
time. When on the Rangers, there might not be a spot open for him. So,
No,
yeah,
definitely
I
not.
think that's a great trade for the Kings and even by the Rangers to get whatever you can for the piece that seemingly is going nowhere with your team. So let's get into Puljujärvi now. So he signs a 2 year, 1.17 million contract with the Oilers. Uh, do you think he rejuvenates his career? Do you think he finally breaks out into like the third overall pick when he was supposed to be?
It's definitely his last chance to do so, but
I
I think yeah, he will. I think they might slide him in. He's only 22 years old. Like he
Yeah.
could slide into the top 6 spot maybe. Probably not, maybe bottom 6 at first, but I think his production is going to go up this year. I think just based on the team that's around him now at this point, I think yeah, I think his second chance is here and he's
I
going to
think
take it.
with him signing a contract in Edmonton, like he didn't want to play, he wanted to trade and everything. I think there had to been like something where they were like, "Yeah, we'll give you a shot to play in our top six," and like there had to have been something there because, or maybe the GM change that would make sense too. So yeah, hopefully he can turn around his career and finally live up to what he was supposed to be because it's looking like a bust for Edmonton. Like we kind of got to look back at Edmonton's like first overall picks and like how many of them are like would be considered busts. Well, Yakupov,
Yakupov, Hall isn't a
Puliar
bust, but what they
Puliarvi wasn't first overall, but like more or less like top
yeah,
five draft picks for Edmonton.
Hall wasn't a bust, but what they did with him was a bust.
Yeah, technically, yeah, you could fault Hall to being a bust. Nugent Hopkins, I wouldn't say he's a bust, but
Not
I don't
anymore.
not anymore,
He had
not
a really
anymore.
slow start, but yeah, he looks good.
Well, Puliarvi kind of looks like a bust already. Drysdale, I think they picked him sixth overall. He's obviously not a bust. Eberle, what about Eberle? Do you think would
He's
you
on the
consider him a
Islanders.
bust? No, I know, but he was taken first overall by the Oilers.
Um, he wasn't a bust, but he wasn't producing
He didn't
for
live
what
up
he
to
was
what he was
his
supposed to be.
position. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
like that's weird. Like that's interesting that the Oilers flopped on that many picks like that. I don't know. Found that interesting. Couple defensemen signed 4 year deals coming out past couple days. Brendan Dillon and Dylan DeMello signing deals in Winnipeg and Washington. I think they're both good deals for both players and teams. Washington gets Dillon for over 4 years. They picked him up at the deadline last year. I think he fit in well. He's a great physical defenseman for them. And Dylan DeMello is a good. Well, I think 3 mil is a little much for him. He's not that proven yet. I still think it's a great contract for Winnipeg. They need defense, so I think he'll be a good fit. What do you
Um,
think?
yeah, I'm honestly a little bit more. I think the Washington deal with Dylan is more important, just because the fact that they just drafted Hendrik Lapierre,
Mm-hmm.
he super injury prone, player. So if you got Brendan Dillon, who is one of the toughest guys on the Capitals this year, he's gonna be out. Him and Ovechkin gonna be out there watching that kid's back. So like, say no one's gonna want to take a run at him if they're gonna have
Mm-hmm.
to answer to that. So
Yeah,
I
makes
think,
sense.
and he's not a bad player either. I think he's really good.
No, he's a
Uh,
great shutdown defender.
yeah, good
Mm-hmm.
left-handed defenseman, great
He's
shutdown
awesome.
defensive defenseman. I think it's overall a great contract for Brendan Dillon and the Capitals. I think you hit the nail on the head with the DeMello contract. He's It was probably a bit much money.
He
He's
was going to make
27,
that. Someone was going to give DeMello three. So
and it's Winnipeg now. So
yeah, yeah.
I
I
think
think it's going to work
overall,
out for both teams. So
exactly, overall good
yeah.
contracts for both.
All right. So also happening recently, couple big buyouts too. We already mentioned Turris, but Carl Alsner and Justin Advocator getting bought out by their teams. Advocator by the Red Wings and Ad, Alsner by
Start
the
again.
Canadians. Yeah, Jesus. Um, Alsner's making 3.9 next season against the cap, but after that it gets kind of cheap. I know. And Advocator isn't that bad. It's like I think under 2 million for the next I think 5 years. I'm not too sure on that, but it's definitely costly.
Both of those had to be done, 100%.
Yeah, those are rough contracts.
Yeah, Abdelkader. I mean, they can afford that buyout just because they're in a huge hole right now, and they have a lot of
Yeah.
caps, so I guess that's not that big of a deal regarding the Red Wings. But Montreal, again, like I said, Alzner kind of had to go. Like that contract was really bad, so I guess they'd rather pay that penalty than have to pay him for the next few years,
It
which
only
I
saves
agree
them
with.
like doesn't even save them mil against the cap for the season, the next season rather. Because he was making I think 4 point something.
Well, yeah, because he seemed really good, and then he signed, and then
Yeah.
he just
As soon as he
completely
went to Montreal,
flopped.
it just went
Completely
straight
flopped.
downhill. Yep. I don't know, man. I don't know what happened to him, but he'll get a chance at a fresh start. I don't know if he plays in the NHL next season.
I don't know. Because how old is he now?
Yeah.
He's 32, I think.
I don't think he's that old, but he just fell off the face of a cliff. I don't know if it just wasn't a fit in Montreal and he'll go back. Maybe he goes back to Washington, signs a cheap deal there. I don't know, plays in a depth role.
No, he's 32, and obviously not getting any younger at that age. And you play for Montreal, who kind of needs defense right now. The fact that he ended up as a Laval Rocket, that's kind of a red flag for a lot of
Hmm.
teams.
Yeah, I don't know. But I think a team would definitely be willing to take a throw a cheap contract at either of those two. Advocate, maybe not Advocator because he sucks, but maybe one at Olsner to just be a depth defender or something. But I'm sure Advocator will even find a team to play on next season.
For a
So
very cheap deal, yeah.
yeah, very cheap deal. Very cheap deal because no one's gonna want to pay them anything. Uh, Something we didn't get into, we forgot the Domi extension. Oh, I forgot. He signs 5.3 mil for the next 2 years with Columbus. I think it's a great signing for Domi. It does take him right to UFA though. That's the only thing with that contract.
Um, yeah, so
Domi could just walk two
that could be
years.
a problem uh when his contract ends if he doesn't like it there, but I honestly I think it's going to work out really well, but obviously you never
Never
know.
know. Yeah.
Exactly.
Same thing happened kind of with Panarin and Bobrovsky and Duchesne. They all went there and they left. Like
Yeah.
you got to feel for Columbus fans at that. Imagine that happens again. They give up Josh Anderson, a promising young forward, for a guy like Domi, and Domi just walks in 2 years. That'd be tough. All right, so moving on. Rumor kind of came out over the past couple days that Henrik Lundqvist is going to sign a deal with the Washington Capitals. Uh, what do you think? Do you think it's a good team for him?
Honestly, it's going to be so weird to see his name in anything but,
Hmm.
the nice blue and red. But considering Washington is still a cup contending team in my opinion,
I agree.
I would want. There's only like a few spots I want to see him go. If he's gonna go anywhere, and obviously this isn't not all these teams need him. I'd want to just see him go to either Boston, Washington, Colorado, Tampa, and I can't really think anywhere else because again they need the veteran prowess in Lundqvist for Samsonov, but he's also a capable backup as well. So yeah, he's probably going to sign somewhere cheap, something cheap with them if he does end up going to Washington. Great fit for both the team and the player. So yeah, I think it's a great
I
idea.
agree. I feel like you can get him on a nice cheap contract. He's not going to want that much. Just to come in and mentor Samsonov. I feel like that's great for the Capitals. It's exactly what they needed a goalie. So I think he'll be a great fit there. And what do you think a contract looks like? You think they go 1 to 2, maybe three, you think, or just one year?
I don't think he'll get above 3, just because he looked really bad for his latter years with the Rangers, which that's expected. He's getting up
Yeah.
there in age, but
What is he, 38 now?
yeah,
37?
he's 38. So
I could see maybe a 1 year deal at $2 million, 2.5, if that's a reasonable contract for him.
yeah, I could see that.
Mhm. All right, moving on. We're gonna touch on the Tampa Bay Lightning quickly. So, Stanley Cup champions, Tampa Bay Lightning. But they have three very big RFAs they need to sign this summer: Sergachev, Sorelli, and Cernak. So, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they have, I'd say, okay. So let's start with this. So I think it was the GM. The GM came out saying that there were four untouchable players on Tampa Bay Lightning: Nikita Kucherov, Andrei Vasilevsky, Edmund, and Point. I think there's one name that everyone kind of went, he's not on that list, and that person's Steven Stamkos. How about him not being on that list? Like, what do you get about?
He might just be thinking like, okay, we're paying you this much money to give us like blank amount of games that's less than 82, significantly less than 82
Mm-hmm.
for the most part. So he's probably thinking like, why am I paying him this much money if I'm not going to get any production for half the season from him because he's injured.
Yeah, makes sense.
So and again, he's making 8.5 mil. They only got about 4.5 mil to sign those RFAs. Yeah, him being traded wouldn't it would be a huge shock, but like
That'd be a dinosaur.
I could see it. Like it's possible.
I could see it. Yeah, he's not making that much against the cap. Like Steven Stamkos making 8.5 million. Like that is not bad at all. Like that is a really affordable contract, especially for teams looking to contend. And the likelihood of us actually seeing a Steven Stamkos trade, I put
Imagine the
honestly,
return for that.
oh god, freaking better go all. But a more realistic option the Lightning could look out to move, or I've heard three names: Killorn, Gord, and Johnson. Out of those three, which one do you see most likely being moved?
I feel like the highest valued player. So I feel like just based on the age and the fact that people are going to be thinking, oh, he was a Calder finalist a few years ago, Yanni Gord.
Mhm.
Um, I, I I think Killorn's given the least amount of bang for the buck, so he could also be going. Um, I think Tyler Johnson's most valuable out of those, not most valuable, like the best producer out of those three. So if anything, they're probably going to want to go we're not really getting what we expect from this type of money for Killorn. They might go, okay, Gord probably is the most value out of the three. Um, and Johnson's also making 5 mil for 5 more years, and he's 30 years old. So they might want to get rid of that contract altogether.
So the tricky thing with all of those players is they, in somehow, shape, or form, have like restrictions on where they can go. So Gord and Johnson have full no moves, and Cologne has a partial. So that's what makes it tricky for the GM of Tampa. He's got to try to like cut this salary, and like Gord can just be like, no, I don't want to trade. Like it's that easy, and baseball can't do anything about it. But what I've heard, Breezeball actually asked Johnson for his for like teams he wanted to be moved to, and apparently Johnson gave him like 5 to 6 teams.
That he would or wouldn't want to get moved to.
Would uh just to speculate, just spitball and everything. What do you like? What are some teams you think that Johnson might want to go to? It's complete speculation, but what teams do you think would be like would at like pursue Johnson and like Johnson being a fit as?
There's absolutely no way in hell of telling what teams he chose, but I can
No,
tell
there's
you
that's what
what
I'm saying.
teams
Just
could use him, and it would be teams that can afford him and could also use his services. So a team that's got a lot of cap to kill, but also needs forward help. So, a team like Ottawa, obviously, but he
you
probably
you want to know? You want to
there's
know a
nobody
team
wants to
that
go
I
there.
think could honestly make a trade for Johnson work out? The Winnipeg Jets. They need
Um,
a second line center. They're a competitive team, and they got cap space. Like they definitely can afford that contract if they move a little money out. I think that's doable for Winnipeg. I think it'd be a decent fit alongside Line if he's playing with Line. If not, like Ehlers, not too bad. Maybe another team. Maybe with the Oilers, they pick up some forward depth. Maybe we'll plan to be like a third line center for them. That's an open spot in their lineup. Maybe a team like that. But yeah,
yeah, actually, Tyler Johnson to the Oilers isn't even a. The only reason I don't think that's gonna happen is just because they actually it could happen. They got 8.7 mil right now. They just announced they're not going to be restricting Andreas Athanasiou
yeah,
or Matt Benning, so those guys are going to walk. Um, unless they maybe go for some sort of goalie because I think Mike Smith is walking as well.
yeah, I can see that. I don't think they're all the same goalie tandem as last year.
So I don't know, it could be interesting.
No, I
See what
think it
Tampa
could.
does.
What about the likelihood of moving a Cord or a Kaloran? What do you think about that?
I here's the way I'll put it. I think in order the likelihood of each one getting traded, as in most likely to least likely, I think it would
Mhm.
be Gord, uh, Killorn, Johnson.
Interesting. Honestly, I think they're gonna move Johnson. I really do. I just feel like he has the capability to be the top six line centerman. He can be a number two centerman. And a lot of teams need a number two centerman. I don't know if it's the right like price wise, but the Rangers need a number two center. If the Strom doesn't come back, Johnson would be, I think, an okay fit. Not saying
Yeah,
he goes there, but be
but
okay.
that's assuming they want to take on that
Exactly.
contract
Yeah.
again. He's making $5 million for 5 more years.
Yep.
He's already 30. I wouldn't want that.
All right. So another team that has to shed salary. Vegas Golden Knights. So they're, I think, right now they're like this close to over the cap right now. They just signed Chandler Stevenson to a 4 year deal, giving him, I think, 2.75 per. Pretty steep contract for him, honestly, but I guess he earned it. He's a good third liner. But Vegas, they seemingly are in on every big free agent this summer. And I just don't understand how because they have
I
no cal.
yeah,
They have no salary cap.
it's the same shit with
None.
Toronto. Like everyone's like, "Oh my
Decision.
god, is he gonna go there?" Like people are saying Vegas is one of the highest guys for Petrangelo
He
right
is.
now.
They are. That's the thing. They're the number one favorite for him.
Literally don't have a single dollar to spend on him.
No, but there's money they can move out. That's the thing. So
And
this is where
who?
we come in. Paul Stastny, making
Buy him
six and a
out,
half
I
for one
think.
year.
Probably buy that
No,
out.
you can no, definitely not buy that out. Are you kidding me? You can trade Paul Stastny. uh, Alec Martinez. I know
Actually,
he's
yeah, he's only
Alec
made
Martinez is a 1 year deal. He's making 4 million,
yeah,
and some other bigger names that I've heard that are out there. Marc-Andre Fleury, obviously, he's
yep.
making a lot. Actually, let's start with Fleury. So what I've heard about Fleury. So Marc-Andre Fleury, they've offered Vegas has been trying to move Fleury. So what they're trying to do, they're trying to move Fleury like a three-way deal. So they would move Fleury to another team and like a team. So and then another team would come in and retain salary on Fleury's contract.
Yeah, a
So
three-way.
so Vegas would compensate a team for that. So if Vegas were to retain, or okay, never mind. If another team came in and retained half of Fleury's salary, what do you think that's worth?
If they retain half of his
Yeah.
salary.
So say there's a three-way deal between Vegas, Detroit, and Minnesota to say. So say Fleury goes to Minnesota, but Detroit retains half of Fleury's contract. How much do you think Detroit is going to get compensated for that?
But you think it'd be assets or picks?
Just go off picks.
Picks.
Mhm.
I'd assume maybe a second,
Yeah, you'd be right about that.
like
But
not a
but
first, but
no, that's where you're wrong. So the asking price to retain half of Fleury's contract is a first and a second.
that's that. Like they literally said, like we're not going to retain him.
To
Wow.
retain half.
Okay.
That's how valuable cap space is.
I guess so. Depending on where he goes, too. Like if you like you said, Detroit. If Detroit does it, they could afford
That's just
half of his cap.
how I know. I was just spitballing teams. That's saying if Minnesota acquires because they
Right.
can't take him at 7. I don't think. That's the thing. Like Vegas is going to have to pay if they want to move Fleury, and I don't think that happens.
I
I
don't think
think that
so either.
I think they might get stuck with Fleury next year.
You think so?
I
That would
think
suck.
that would suck. They can't do anything about it. They can't move him. Can you really pay a first and a second to move 2 years of a contract? I don't think so.
Not worth it.
Not worth it at all. So other names that Vegas has had out there: Nate Schmidt and Jonathan Marchessault as guys to clear cap.
Um, I think Schmidt makes more sense here, just because like he's making almost $6 million.
I agree, but Schmidt's a good defender. That's the thing. Schmidt's a good.
I just don't think he's worth that much
But the
though.
thing is, if you're going to bring in Petrangelo, then he's expendable.
That's also true.
Mm-hmm. That
You
is
free up the
true.
cap from Schmidt, then and Flurry, assuming they get rid of him, then yeah, then
Or
they can
even flip
afford him.
Stastny or Martinez.
Or Stastny, yeah.
I don't know, dude. I think Vegas is making a run at Petro. I really do.
Get ready to
They're
see
gonna
some
make it
trades
work.
then.
They're gonna make it work. It's gonna get crazy. And branching off that, what we're gonna do now, we're gonna we're gonna look at all the UFAs that are gonna be, able to sign on Friday, and we're gonna look at all or most of them, or some of them rather, and we're gonna just pick where they're gonna go. So, do you want to start off with Petrangelo? Because we already kind of talked about him a little bit.
Petrangelo.
Where is
Um.
Petrangelo gonna sign?
Uh. I honestly, I think it's been narrowed down to this point. I think New Jersey's probably gonna take the biggest run at him. They might land him.
Interesting.
Assuming he's going after money over production, team production.
How much money did he get from New Jersey?
Jersey. Petrangelo is gonna be making a lot of money this year.
I think
Like
they offer from 10 at
he can,
least.
yeah, exactly. He could be making up to 10 mil, and New Jersey can 100% afford him too. So
All right. I'm gonna ride the Petrangelo to Vegas bandwagon. I think it's happening. They're gonna make it work somehow. I really don't know how. I don't know how exactly, but they're gonna make it work there. And he's just like Vegas is just they have Shea Theodore, but they're missing that really good right-handed defender, and Petrangelo is exactly that. So yeah, I think Petrangelo signs for the Golden Knights. So we did biggest defenseman. You want to do biggest forward now?
biggest what? Your mic's cutting out.
Biggest forward.
Yeah. So Taylor Hall.
All right, so after many problems with technical difficulties, we're here and we're ready to talk about Taylor Hall.
Yeah.
So let's jump in now. All right, Taylor Hall. I'd say the biggest forward on free agent market this summer, no question about that. But for who to sign him, if I were to bet on it, I would probably say Taylor Hall is going to be a Nashville Predator.
Yeah. Honestly, I could see it. They have plenty of money for him.
They just cleared up a bunch of cap.
Yep. They have Kunin to sign at RFA.
They just moved. Yeah, that shouldn't be that bad.
much.
They just moved Bonino. They did something else. They bought out Tourist. They got money now. They can make a push for Taylor Hall, and they need scoring.
Yeah, you're right. They really do.
They got Askarov for the future.
Taylor Hall is probably I want to say confusing, but like I sincerely have no idea where he
He
can
can go
end
to
up.
so many teams. He can
Nashville isn't bad. All right. So I would say based on like if you look at cap friendly, I would say it's pretty much that's anyone that has 10 mil and over and very few RFAs assigned.
Mm-hmm. But teams can still move cap around. So
yep, teams could. So based on that, assuming it's teams that can currently afford him, I think Nashville is a huge suitor for him.
I could see Edmonton.
Edmonton could make a run for him depending
I can see them making a run.
Depending if they have enough cap for it. Because how much do you think he's gonna want?
It all depends on the deal he takes. If he goes short term, I think it'll be more money. But if he goes long term, it'll be less. Like if he takes a 2-year deal, I think it'll be like could be upwards of like 9.5, maybe 10. Maybe like a 6-year deal, maybe like I don't even know. Maybe still 8.5, 9. I don't know. I don't know what Taylor Hall does.
You know where I think his best fit would be, as in
Where?
like it, not necessarily taking what he wants into account, but a
Mhm.
team that needs him the most and could easily afford him. Especially if they're losing Dodonov and Hoffman, I think Florida could be making a run for Taylor Hall.
It would be a great fit, but they can't afford him. I don't think.
They have 21.
No,
they
they
have 22
they
mil.
have cap space, but they have an internal budget. That's the thing. So I don't know what that internal budget is. They're not spending to the cap. If they were going to spend to the cap, they would bring Hoffman and Dadonov back. So, and they're not doing that. So, I mean, there's a chance, but I'd say Nashville and Edmonton are more likely though.
Yeah, Edmonton's got what 7.5, 7.7. Wait,
They have room,
no,
and if Clefbaum's out the whole year, they can put him on LTIR too.
yeah, you're right. So yeah, that would free up a
They have
decent amount of
space.
cap. So,
but then
yeah.
again, if Clefbaum's out, they're gonna want to get a defenseman. So.
Yeah, but I mean, they also could just make a move in general to.
No, they could. You're right. All right,
free up
so
some cap.
yeah, that's Taylor Hall. I'll give you the choice. What do you want to do here, defenseman or a forward? And I'll pick one.
Let's go forward.
Forward. All right, let's go Mike Hoffman. Where do you think Mike Hoffman signs?
Hoffman, excellent winger. Again, one of the most lethal shooters in the
He
league.
could be the best goal scorer available in free agency.
In free agency, yeah, definitely. Just
30
based
goal
on that,
scorer.
just based on that wrist shot. Like I don't know why it goes. It's slept on by like everyone. Like I understand. Like you look at like point production over actual playing style or skill, but like him and Phil Kessel probably have the best wrist shots in the
Oh
league.
yeah,
like
most underrated wrist shots.
if you tell him where to shoot it, he'll put it right there. Like I promise he will.
He's got an unreal shot. He's like, I think he's a guarantee for 25 goals a year. I'd say even 30. Like he's just such a good goal scorer. But now for a team that you think might go after Hoffman, who do you think?
Well, a team that could use scoring help and a team that can afford him. So if we look around a team like that, I want to say maybe Vancouver could take a run at him, assuming
Maybe
Foley doesn't stay. Which
I heard he
unlikely
isn't. I heard he
at
isn't.
this point.
He's also on the list. We'll talk about him. You know who I can see
Who?
maybe going after? Maybe a team like Philadelphia.
Philly. Yeah. How much are we thinking he's gonna want though, Hoffman?
I could see as low as 5.5, but as high as 7.5.
I could see that as well. Which Philly can afford both of those because they have Philippe Myers to sign, but
he shouldn't be that expensive.
No, it's not. That won't be that much.
Maybe
Philly could 100% be a
Philly
spot
be a good
for him.
fit. You know who needs scoring? Minnesota too. They have cap space. Maybe a team like the Wild. I don't know if he wants to go there though.
Yeah, again, it's also based on like what Hoffman wants. Same thing with pretty much any free agent in this scenario. But yeah, those are good fits.
Maybe a team like the Avs takes Hoffman on like a 2-year deal or something.
Yeah, really, really go after
because that's
that
what the
cup.
Avs should do. If the Avs can get one of these big UFAs on like a 2-year deal, 1-year deal, fantastic. Because they have so much cap space.
Yeah, they could probably fit him in there too. After their RFAs, like it's not like.
But who do they got to sign?
Well, they got Jost.
He shouldn't be that much.
And they got Ryan Graves, who honestly might be in for a decent payday.
He might. He's tough to tell. He might get like a 1-year deal, or he might get like a 4-year deal.
Exactly.
Like DeMelo's that contract.
Yep, exactly. That's pretty much what I'm assuming in that situation.
Yeah. But if I were to make the prediction right now, Mike Hoffman, I'd probably stick with Philly. Maybe. I feel like Philly's a really good fit for him. I can see Vancouver though. I like Vancouver for him as well.
My prediction, if Foley walks, which again seems likely, Vancouver. I got him going to Vancouver.
Right, not bad. Let's get to the first goalie on this list now. Let's start off with Brain Holtby. What do you think happens with Hope East for next season?
This is really interesting to me because he's not what he used to be, and I don't know how much he's gonna want. Like he might ask for too much money from pretty much.
A team's gonna overpay on Holtby. A team will overpay.
Pretty much, yeah. So I assume a team like Carolina could use him a lot.
I hope Carolina doesn't overpay on Holtby. I hope they don't.
I hope they don't either. I want to see Carolina succeed because I like Carolina. I don't want to see them fuck that up.
So do I.
Because wherever he goes, he might be like there for the rest of his career.
Yeah, I can see Holtby signing like a 6-7 year deal and somewhere, and just that's the end of his career. But on that team, maybe a team like I think Calgary is most likely. If I had to say, Calgary needs a goalie. Just so many teams need a goalie. I mentioned Minnesota, like for like all of these fucking players, but I think Minnesota would be a good fit for Holtby. Maybe Edmonton. If they get rid of that Koskinen contract, because you got to get rid of that first. Maybe
honestly,
Edmonton.
My prediction, just because they got the cap for him and his name has been linked with them the most, is Calgary, 100%.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I think Calgary would be a good fit for Holtby.
And they can't roll Riddick. I think Riddick had one decent year. I think he's just a really good backup. I don't really see him being a starter.
I agree. Let's move on. Let's go to the defenseman here. Torrey Krug. Even Boston.
That's a big one.
I didn't see that one coming. I really didn't see him leaving.
I think Krug's skill is overshadowed this year just because Petrangelo is the big free agent. But I
Mhm.
think whoever lands Krug, like seriously, is in for like a great time. Like that, like
Yeah, he's a great defender.
nice production from him, both offense and defense.
Quarterback the power play. He's
Exactly. Yep.
fantastic. Mm-hmm. What team you think?
Again, he's gonna want a decent amount of money. I think, like he's gonna want over 6 mil. He might want.
Yeah.
He might want around like 8 mil. I'd assume.
Boston offered him 6.5 over 6, and he said no.
Oh wow. Okay. Um. Well, Krug is 29, so he's definitely got some years left in him. A team that needs a quarterback on defense and can also afford him. This is obviously like wishful thinking on my part, but the Rangers could certainly use him, but that's not happening.
Not happening. No,
There's
you already have two
it-
offensive defensemen.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, there's absolutely no buzz around that at all.
Yeah.
Um,
You know who I see?
yeah,
Florida Panthers.
Florida Panthers going after Krug.
I can see it.
They kind of need it because like
They got Yandel, but Yandel's getting up there.
their best defenseman's Yandel, but he's making a lot of money for 4 more years, and he's 34.
They have Ekblad too.
Ekblad-
An Ekblad Krug pairing, I think that'd be pretty good. Be a pretty
could
good
be
number one
good.
pairing. You got Strawman there too. They moved out the Madison contract. That was a good move by them.
Yep.
I think Florida would be like they'd benefit a lot from Torrey Krug.
Yeah, they could. And again, they really could afford him. Like,
Mhm.
even if they overpay the shit out of him, they could easily afford him if they want. So yeah, that's not a bad prediction. Honestly, yeah, that'd probably be my prediction too. Just him going to Florida because I don't really see any other teams that really need him.
Maybe Winnipeg makes a push.
Winnipeg does
I
need
can
him.
see Winnipeg making a push. Maybe even Calgary.
Calgary, you think so?
Their whole blue line's up basically.
Yeah, the only guy they got Hannafin and Giordano. The rest of
That's
them are
it. And Rasmus Anderson, he's pretty good.
yeah.
But Brody's up, Hamannik's up.
Brody's leaving too. So actually, yeah, Krug to Calgary could also be possible. They
Wouldn't
can't.
be bad.
I don't really see them getting Holtby and
That's the thing. It'd have to be
Krug.
maybe
It's gonna
like
be one or the other.
yeah, it might be like Grice and like Krug or like Holtby and like another like someone else like that. I don't know. We'll see what happens. A lot of speculation.
Here's my final prediction on that. If they move Line, which a lot of buzz around that, and they don't get too much money, like someone making a lot of money in return, I think Krug goes to Winnipeg. But barring that doesn't happen, then I think he's going to Florida.
I agree, actually. I think he's gonna go to Florida. Let's move on to a forward now. Let's get to Tyler Toffoli. So it came out that he's probably not sticking around in Vancouver. So what team you think could go after Toffoli as like a solid middle six scoring option?
I don't know if you're gonna like it, but I think the San Jose Sharks could really use him.
I agree. I do. I'd consider it unlikely though.
Why do you say that?
I don't think Wilson's gonna pay like over 4 for Toffoli.
Didn't he want
And
5 over 5?
He's worth more than 5. I could see him getting 5.5. He's just think about Toffoli. He's such an inconsistent scorer.
Right.
Just as a Sharks fan, I wouldn't want him on the team.
He's a very streaky player.
He's a very like he was good in Vancouver. That he just could have been on a hot streak though. Like that's how it is with him. He'll have down years. He'll have good years. He'll have great years. He'll have bad years. That's just what you get out of Tyler Toffoli. Based on where he goes though. I could see a team like Nashville circling back on a guy like Toffoli if they miss out on like a big option like Hall or something.
Like
They'll
Hall,
circle
yeah.
back.
I feel like Toffoli's just like a lower scale Hoffman.
Yeah. What if he goes back to LA?
That's all I was thinking about that. It's
might go
not
back
out
to
of the
LA.
question. It really is not out of the question at all.
I don't know what like happened there. Like if he was happy leaving there, if everyone thing worked out there, but he could get LA needs scoring help. He can
And
go back to LA.
Absolutely nothing stopping them from
They have
them
plenty of
offering
cap
him.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty likely actually. Maybe like the Canadians if they have room for him. Maybe.
Well, thing with Montreal is they probably could afford him. They have Josh Anderson that they have to pay now, which
Yeah.
I don't.
I don't.
How
I
much
don't
is he
even know
gonna
what a
need?
contract looks like.
Not after this previous season, probably not that much. So yeah, they could use a winger, especially after getting rid of because Domi wanted to play center and
Hmm.
they don't have room for him. They just straight up that's why they got rid of him.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I could see Toffoli going to the Canadians, but honestly I think Toffoli to Los Angeles is probably realistic in my opinion. It's probably my final prediction.
Yeah, I'd probably just to be different. He goes to the Habs. All right, let's go on to another defenseman here. Sammy Vatanen. Where do you think Vatanen ends up? I feel like Vatanen's a really interesting player here because he's not a higher end player, but he's like such a useful player. He's like an
Yeah.
offensive defenseman. He'll get
Yep.
you say
He's a-
close to 40 points a year.
He was
You
pretty good
know,
on the power play with
Mhm.
Carolina.
You know who I think goes after Vatanen?
Who?
Boston.
Yeah, they're losing Krug, and if they don't get
It just
OEL in
makes
a
sense.
trade, considering tomorrow's the deadline for that to happen, or sorry, Friday's the deadline for that to happen, Vatanen into Boston could make sense, especially
He's
because
not a
Char's
number
on his way
one.
out.
He's not a number
Definitely
one
not,
defenseman.
not
He's a
not by any
number.
means.
He's number three, but he's a good replacement for Torrey Krug. Is what I'm trying to say.
It's a
He's
good
a guy.
start. Yeah,
He can come in like I'd say maybe 5 over 4 a contract, 5 mil over 4 years, maybe something like that. Like it's cheaper than what Krug would have got, but he can still kind of replicate Krug's numbers, not to like the extent, but he can still like provide like what Torrey Krug brought to the table.
right.
So I think maybe Boston's a possibility. Who else needs like an offensive defenseman? Florida
Um,
maybe if they miss out on Krug.
yeah, I'd think so. It's a lower level. It's almost like what I
Mhm.
said with Hoffman and Toffoli. It's just Krug on a smaller scale, which could be backup plan for Florida.
Mhm.
In terms of offensive defensemen, though, like not many teams really need that because they all seem to have at least one. But like I said, and teams that could afford him, Boston is definitely up there. Um, Florida is 100% up there if they again miss out on Krug.
I could see LA even. I can see him going to
LA
LA.
getting Vatanen. Yeah,
Why not?
they need everything.
That's what I'm saying. Like, just there's some teams where like everyone fits.
Um, he got traded from New Jersey, so I doubt.
Yeah, I don't think he'll go back to New Jersey.
I doubt that.
Hmm.
Again, a very interesting name to look for. Like anyone,
Hmm.
because I remember him being on the ice against the Rangers in the play-in. Like if it was a Carolina power play, like I had my eye just drawn to him because the play always seems to be set up from him. Like
Mhm.
he always seems to be starting the play, and he does a very good job of that. So I think a team that could use him is probably going to go after him. Like because again, he's a very useful player. He's very overshadowed again, I think, by the fact that Krug and Petrangelo are both free agents this year.
Yeah, he's a lower
So
option. Like, not a lot of people are talking about him.
honestly, I could see Boston probably being the highest option though. Like I think
No,
Boston.
Boston makes sense. Boston, I feel like is a really good fit for Vatanen. I like. No, I'd say Boston is gonna go after Vatanen. That'd be my pick. All right, moving on to Evgeny Dadonov, Florida Panthers. I said from the Florida Panthers for a reason. I think he comes back to Florida.
You think so?
I do.
Um, I could see it. I think they're gonna get one of the two wingers.
I
That
was gonna say I don't think they can lose both, right?
it's gonna be Hoffman or Dadonov, but I think
I think
Dadonov's just more
Dadonov's
likely.
it's more likely. I think he fit better with them. I'm pretty sure he played on the top line with Huberdeau and Barkov. I'm almost positive.
Yeah,
You don't want to lose a player like that.
exactly, because he's so key to the production on
Mhm.
the forward core. Assuming he does leave, I think he's just gonna be the same thing as Hoffman. Like essentially, they're pretty much the same thing in free agency at this point because they both are very keen for production. Hoffman's the goal scorer. Dadanov can honestly do both. He's more of a playmaker, in my opinion. So like a team like Nashville could go after him, assuming he would leave. But I think he stays in Florida just because I feel like Hoffman's more likely to walk, and they won't. There's no way they lose both.
I agree. Yeah. What's your prediction? What do you think? If you'd have to guess.
Prediction: stay in Florida. However, if he were to walk, then he's probably going to go to Nashville, or probably I want to say Colorado, maybe.
I could see him taking a cheap. Like he's not that young. He's what 32, 33.
Yeah, he might be late 20s.
I don't know if no, he's definitely 30s.
He is 31.
All right, so he's not as old as I thought he was. So maybe he takes a 4-year deal. That makes sense for him.
Yeah, and then get to the latter years of your career.
Yep. All right. So yeah, if I were to guess, I'd say he stays with Florida though. All right, let's move on to a defenseman, TJ Brody. What do you think happens with Brody?
Honestly, again, pretty underrated defenseman. Where he goes is kind of beyond me. I could see a team like Vancouver maybe going for him if they don't end up going after a guy like Hoffman, maybe.
Mhm.
They have Hughes. They don't really have much else. They have Edler and Myers, but I mean, Myers is just kind of there to be like a big guy, do his big guy job. And Edler's on his way out. He's 34 with $6 million. He's got one more year after this year's. I can see that. It's kind of up in the air for me on that one.
You know where I think he's gonna go? Buffalo.
Buffalo.
I think Buffalo. They just need a nice two-way, steady, solid defenseman. Just come in, play with Deline, maybe Risto. They just need like an older guy to just come in there and it's kind of like mentor Deline a little bit.
Yep.
Get him on the right track. I think Brody's a great player to do that, and he fits in Buffalo. Buffalo needs help on the blue line. Oh, Buffalo needs help everywhere. So, if I were to bet, I'd say he goes to Buffalo.
I'd see that. I'd probably say Buffalo too, a team that also might go after him because one, they could afford him, and two, they need him, especially because their highest paid defenseman is not looking good right now. Is New Jersey?
Yeah, I could see New Jersey going after him. That makes sense. Like he's a defender that would I think every team would want on their team. Mostly, like even the Rangers. That's kind of what the Rangers need. They need a lefty,
defenseman.
Like defensive first defenseman because they got D'Angelo, they have Fox. Those guys don't really play defense.
Yeah, they're offensive defensemen.
Yep, and you got rid of Stahl, so it leaves a spot open.
Defensive defenseman is turnover machine. So
Mark Stahl,
he's
gone.
Truba, but
him too. I wouldn't even say he's a two-way though. He's not really defensive. He just sucks.
Fair enough.
All right. Moving on to one of the better offensive defensemen in this free agency class, Tyson Barrie. Kind of a name that kind of gets overshadowed a little bit. He went to Toronto in the Kadri trade. He didn't really have that great of a season. Just seemed like he really never fit in with the Leafs. But with the Avs, he was a great offensive defenseman. And I think he's looking to cash in here. What team you think would give Barrie the money?
I think whatever team does get him has to realize that Barrie is a great player. I think, like you said, he just wasn't really a fit with Toronto's play, maybe. I'm kind of up in the air on Barrie because I feel like he's in the same boat as Krug. Like, it's just a team that needs him. Like, Boston go after him.
Boston could go after him. He's probably a cheaper option than Krug, you think, after the year he just had. Maybe,
definitely, yeah.
Maybe Boston offers 6.5 over 6 to Barrie. Because, for Barrie, that's not that bad of a contract.
No, not at all. And he plays like he did in Colorado.
If we're going to look at it, like, besides last year, like, if we look at Barrie's numbers, like, how far off are they to Torrey Krug? Because, like, they can't be that far off, right? I don't think so.
Not drastically.
Torrey Krug definitely has better numbers. But I don't think it's by much. And Torrey Krug does play with Boston. And, Barrie was on a couple Avs teams that weren't too great, so.
Yep, and he was like easily like one of the top 3 guys every year.
Yeah. I think Barrie to Boston makes sense if the opportunity's there, if they can afford him. I think that works out. It's not too expensive of a contract. I think he'd be a good fit there. Maybe a team. I could see the Flyers. Maybe if the Flyers can, dump off Ghost. They have room for another offensive defenseman.
That's the only way that happens if Ghost leaves, which I'm not sure how that would work, but
I think a team would be on Ghost.
I mean, I'd take Ghost.
So would I. I would definitely take Ghost if the price is right. I would take him. Let's move on to the second best. Oh, I'd say the second, ranked goalie, Jacob Markstrom. Because I think Markstrom's better, but just off like people know him, like Braden Holtby is like the number one. So move on from that. Jacob Markstrom.
I have been saying this since like
So have I.
forever podcasts ago.
Mhm.
I think Markstrom to Carolina is happening.
It just fits. It just works.
Especially
it
after
really does.
Askarov not going to the Carolina Hurricanes. I think Markstrom would 100% fit that team, especially because that's the one thing they're missing is just a great goalie.
And Markstrom is that goalie.
Markstrom's been an incredible goalie.
He has.
He didn't drastically improve. The team in front of him did. Like
You're right.
He genuinely looked really good, even when the Vancouver Canucks were terrible. So I think Markstrom is 100% what Carolina needs right now.
I agree. Just with Mrazek and Reimer, like there isn't a starter there. I don't think Mrazek's he's a 1A at best. I'd say he's not a definite starter though. And Reimer's a 1B to backup. So I can see them dealing off Mrazek or even Reimer. I think Reimer's got more value just based off his contract. So maybe you move Reimer and roll a Markstrom Mrazek tandem. I don't think that's that bad. I think that's not. It's all right.
Far-fetched.
I think Carolina could be a serious contender if they get Markstrom.
I agree.
Can they afford Markstrom? They can, right?
They got to pay Hayden Fleury, but I don't really see his.
No, he shouldn't be that much. No,
exactly. I don't really. Yeah, they could definitely afford Markstrom. What's the most you think he wants?
Tough to say. I can't see him getting more than 7.5. Honestly, 7.
I would think 7's the ceiling on that. I think 7.5 is a bit high.
It is. I wouldn't go 7.5. I don't know. I think around 6.5 is a good range for him. I wouldn't go more than that. But dude, teams might go 8 on Markstrom and Holtby. We don't know.
Yeah, we'll find out on Friday.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a very, very interesting free agency.
You're right. Let's move on to a guy that might not be on like big high profile guy, but he'll definitely be on a lot of teams' radars. Kevin Shattenkirk kind of rejuvenated his career with the Lightning after getting bought out with the Rangers. Signed a 1-year deal with Lightning, won a cup. He could be looking to cash in again here.
Well, realistically, he's obviously not coming back to Tampa just because of their cap issues.
I can't see it. Like I'm sure they'd love to keep Shattenkirk, but they can't. Like they value Cernak and Sergachev higher, and rightfully so.
Especially after the season he had with Tampa, I think he's probably worth a bit more than what Tampa is going to be able to give him.
Mm-hmm. You know where I can see him going? Vancouver,
Shattenkirk.
It's just they're not gonna. I can't see him making more than 3.5.
I agree. He can't.
So he'll go there on probably a 1 to 2 year cheap deal. It just kind of makes sense. You know what team I'm going to throw out there just because their fan base is going to throw himself in there? Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, of course.
He's a right shot defender. Yes, he's offensive, but it's not really what the Leafs need. It's like not at all. The Leafs don't need him.
Yeah, no, I don't.
If the Leafs went after Shattenkirk, that'd be stupid. Because they don't need an offensive defenseman. Shattenkirk's terribly defensive. Shattenkirk's a great third pair offensive defenseman, second power play option. That's what he's made for. And that's the role he's got to play.
I could see Winnipeg taking a shot.
Maybe Winnipeg. I could see him go back to the Caps too if they have room for him. I know Kempty's out long term, so maybe that opens up a spot. He can go back there on I don't know what their cap situation looks like, but going back there on a cheap deal. Where would you see Shattenkirk going if you had a guess?
My final guess as to where he goes, I would probably say Winnipeg.
I liked Vancouver. I think he'd be decent there. So I'd go Vancouver. Let's move on to actually the second last player I have on this list. Mikael Granlund.
This is kind of me thinking
I know what you're gonna say already.
The Rangers fucking should go after him. Like we need center help. He had an off year, so his money.
I don't think it will be down. Honestly, I don't
It
think it
won't be
will.
as high as it could be. I
Yes,
think
that is right. If Granlund went to UFA the year that, like, if he's still in Minnesota, he'd be a $7 million player.
yeah, exactly. But he only put up like 30 points this year in
He
63
just he just didn't
games.
fit in with Minnesota. He can be really
Nashville.
be. He
I
can
think
really. Did I said yeah? I'm at Nashville. He can really be a guy that is like an underrated option. Like he's not like on the main cover like Petrangelo and Hall, but he could be a guy that really makes an effect because he's a good player. He can be a first line center. He proved
uh
in Minnesota he was a first line center.
I agree.
So where would he go? Who do you think goes after
I'm
Granlund?
I really think that it's gonna
Rangers, you going with that?
I think so, yeah. Like he fits exactly what they need. They could 100% afford him, assuming we don't overpay Strome or D'Angelo
Mm-hmm.
and Georgiev. I don't really see him getting overpaid that much.
No.
So like why not? Like why would we not at least give him a call? Like
I
again,
think it makes sense.
especially after getting Lafreniere, however you want to pronounce it. Um, I think sincerely, like that centerman could sincerely put us over the edge. Like we could be a playoff contender if we get a centerman like Mikael Granlund.
Yeah, no, I agree. He's a great player. Who's got like a blaring second line center position open? We've talked about him a lot. Winnipeg Jets. They're such a good team, but they have like two open like not two. They have a second line center and their defense, which are like there's so many players you can staple to those. I think if they got Granlund, he'd be a great fit on the second line. He'd put up like 60, 70 points in that system, playing the first line power play. He'd be fantastic. Maybe maybe New Jersey could use him. They need some offense. They have cap space. Maybe
Yeah.
Buffalo plays in the wing with Eichel. Just spitballing here, but maybe a team like that goes after him.
Whoever gets him needs to use him properly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nashville wasn't using him right.
If
I
I were to-
sincerely
if-
think
If I were to bet,
use
I'd
him.
say he goes to Winnipeg.
I'm sticking with the Rangers. Fuck
Nope.
that.
Yep, I get that. All right. Actually, I thought of someone else. So this is the second last player, Chris Tanev. What do you think happens
Yeah.
with Tanev this season?
That could be an interesting one. Like,
And hold on, are we gonna look at the possibility of Vancouver losing all three of these UFAs?
we already did.
Yeah, I think they lose all three.
It's probable. I mean, Toffoli's
Unless they make a push. Unless they, I don't know. I've heard Toffoli's gone. I heard Markstrom's gone. I heard Tanev wasn't even in consideration. Like, I think
You know what I
I
think?
think they got fucked. They're gonna have money though now. They can
Honestly,
go spend money.
I think Tanev. I could probably see him going to Philly.
Philly makes sense. I have him going to their biggest rivals, I think, the Pittsburgh Penguins. He was rumored to be interested going there. I think Pittsburgh could use him. Bought out Jack Johnson. I guess he was their shutdown defender. I don't know why, but he was their shutdown defender, so maybe he comes and replaces him.
Yeah, honestly, that does make a lot of sense too, considering Letang's pretty much on his way out.
Mhm.
So actually,
I think if they move Letang, they could go after like Krug or someone like that.
that's assuming they move him soon.
Yeah, that's moving
because
them now.
Krug's gonna be getting a phone call like literally the first day. Like
Oh,
obviously he's not
yeah.
gonna sign anyway. It's gonna be like usual for agency. Like no one's gonna sign until like a few days in, so you get all your offers. But I think if they move Letang, then yeah, they can go after Krug. But again, Tanev to Pittsburgh is not entirely
makes
out of the
sense.
question.
Yep.
It makes sense.
All right, and for the last player we're going to talk about now, it just kind of came out during the technical difficulties. At least that's when I saw it. Anthony Duclair did not receive a qualifying offer from the Arizona Coyotes. Honestly, I didn't see that coming. I don't know why they wouldn't qualify him.
First off, it's from the Ottawa Senators,
What did I say?
Arizona Coyotes.
Whoopsies. He did play with the Arizona Coyotes, so I was close. Yep, Ottawa though. Ottawa doesn't qualify him. I didn't see it coming.
Yeah, he was pretty damn good with Ottawa. I mean, he's center like predominantly, I think, right? No, he's a winger actually. I was wrong.
He scored, I think, 25. I don't think he hit 30, but he scored 25 goals, I'm pretty sure.
And a place like Ottawa, that's pretty damn good. So
yeah, he was the leading goal scorer by a landslide, I'm almost pretty sure. the thing is about Duclair, I think a team might overpay on him just based off the year he had.
Right.
Because if Ottawa didn't want to pay him, you never know what Melnick. He could have wanted like $4 million, and Melnick was like, no. But he also could have wanted like 5, and he could have justified for that, honestly. I don't know if he had arbitration rights, but he could have argued like 5, 5.5, just based on his goal total. So I kind of see why Ottawa moved on, but they didn't even qualify him. Like, you have all the money in the world there, and you couldn't qualify him and then just trade him and get something for him. Just let him walk. Like, what? Is that just me or no?
No, that's kind of the whole situation's kind of bizarre in my opinion.
I didn't see that coming. Like, not at all. So who goes after Duclair now?
I know who might go after him, and I think I already know my prediction as to where he goes.
Shoot.
Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, I can see it. Makes sense.
They just lost one of their best wingers. They got the room for him money wise. I think Duclair to Montreal is completely realistic.
You know what I can see? Anthony Duclair to the Colorado Avalanche, like a 2-year cheap deal. Oh yeah, dude, I could just see that. Him ripping it up on the second line.
1 second, yeah. Okay. Motherfucker.
Oh, good.
Just edit that out, please.
Yep, I got you. Where were we?
Duclair to Colorado.
Yeah, I can see him going in and playing on a second line there. Yeah, I think they need, like, they don't necessarily need, but they could use scoring depth. Every team could use scoring depth, and Duclair is just that. He could play in the top 6, and I could say score 30 goals for the Avs playing alongside Kadri.
I could see it, yeah, if you put him with the right guy, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's my final prediction though. Duclair to not Minnesota, sorry, Montreal.
I'd probably go Duclair to Colorado if I'd have to guess. And one little thing I want to do before we wrap this up. So we just went over all of the UFAs that are available. There are some notable RFAs that still aren't signed. So with RFAs, so teams can't go and just sign them willingly. Other teams own their rights. So just if you don't know. So with these players, they're owned to their teams. So like say Barzal, he's owned by the Islanders. The team can't just go out and sign him for free. They'd have to pay draft picks. So this is where this comes in. Do you see any players getting offer sheeted?
Who's the biggest RFAs this year? Let's think about that first, because that
biggest RFAs that just biggest RFAs in general. I'd probably say Barzal, Sergachev. Who else is out there? Fuck.
Reinhardt.
Is Reinhardt RFA?
Yep.
All right, Reinhardt.
Pulock,
I don't see Reinhardt. Pulak, yeah, Pulak. I don't see Reinhardt getting offer sheeted though. There's no fucking way that happens. If Buffalo has Reinhardt getting offer sheeted, I don't know what the fuck they're doing over there. They have all the money in the world.
Bertuzzi's an RFA, who's a big piece in Detroit.
Yeah, just same thing. They have all the cap in the world to match him. But the two I wanted to kind of mostly talk about are the ones I already mentioned already. Matt Barzal and Mikhail Sergachev. Two teams in the Islanders and Lightning that are pretty close on salary cap. Like, it's kind of a question if they can even afford these guys. So the Islanders, we'll start with them. They have, I'm pretty sure they're going to have $18 million to work with in free agency. But they have to sign Barzal, Pulak, and Devon Taves. Rumor has it Matt Barzal rejected $7 million.
For how long?
Don't know. He rejected $7 million now.
Yeah, it's
that's
problematic.
I'm not gonna say I didn't see it coming because he can make upwards of 10. I know that. I don't know if he does. I don't think he gets that.
Easily one of the strongest forward skaters.
He's unreal.
He could be making a lot of money. Yeah.
If he's available, the thing is, the Islanders need him. He's their offense. He drives the offense for them.
Exactly. If he goes, he might as well just
done. But they're gonna get assets in return for him. That's the thing. Just say it does come down to an offer sheet. What team and what does it look like for Matt Barzal?
Well, what team is lacking center. I want to say depth because he's obviously the first line center. So center power in general.
Oh, dude. I think I might know a team, and this would kill Islander fans.
Who?
Not as much as the other team in New York, but the New Jersey Devils.
Yeah, I mean they could use him.
They have the assets. They have the cap space. They need Matt Barzal. I don't know if they pull the trigger on it, but it's an interesting option.
But think about it. Are they going to want to give up?
That's what I'm saying. They're not going to want to. They're not in
exactly.
position to give up something. Yeah.
During a rebuild, I don't see that happening.
That's the thing. You got to find that team that has the cap space that would dare to offer sheet someone like that. It's tough. It's tough to tell.
I just don't see it happening, to be honest.
You don't see an offer sheet from Sergachev, or not for Sergachev, for Barzal?
No, because like teams that do need him, there's no way they give up the picks that comes with it. There's no way, unless they trade for his rights. But that seems unrealistic.
You know a team that I'm looking at that might have a possibility. Calgary Flames.
Barzal.
Yeah. If they can move one of the contracts that they have up front, they could definitely make it work. So I'm looking at it right now. They have 17. They do have people to sign, but you can easily move out money, and you can make it fit with a guy like Barzal. Like if you even move out like Monahan and you bring in Barzal as your number 1C, Goudreau and Barzal. Oh,
well, they could afford him without even moving something. People.
That's what I'm saying. But they need defense. They don't have a blue line, so they're gonna have to move money. And they need a goalie too. So they have a lot, but I think Calgary, they could make it work realistically.
Good.
Like they're not in rebuilder territory, so they're not giving up like.
No, that's a playoff roster.
That's what I'm saying.
If you're giving up the picks for Barzal and you're Calgary, that's honestly a great idea because you're losing obviously a first round pick is valuable, but if you're Calgary, it's not as valuable as. Because again, I think Calgary has a Stanley Cup roster. I think what they're missing is a little bit of a blue line and a goaltender.
Agreed.
So,
interesting. Let's look at the other big RFA now. Mikhail Sergachev coming off the Stanley Cup win in Colorado Avalanche. Do you think there's a team that would go after Sergachev maybe via offer sheet?
A team in the same boat as Calgary with Barzal, but in this situation, they're a cup-capable team. They got room for him, and they might have to make some sort of money move to get him, but I think the Boston Bruins, if they're losing Torrey Krug, could go after him.
Imagine that the Boston Bruins offer sheeting.
That'd be fucked up.
Like the Atlantic Division, like rival Tampa Bay Lightnings.
Exactly.
Like best defender, one of their best defenders. That's bold. I don't know about Boston. I can't see Boston doing it because they're gonna have to give up a lot, and they're gonna have to give up a lot to the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's the thing, and I don't know if Tampa even lets that happen. Even like Boston, like I'm pretty sure they would match it just so Boston didn't even get his hands on him.
You know who else?
This is who I thought you were gonna say. Winnipeg. That's who I thought you were gonna say.
No,
you don't think so?
I don't know. They're kind of in like shaky territory.
I don't think they're in
first and whatever is much.
Maybe.
You know who honestly is kind of being slept on?
Who?
Just because they always fail whatever their task is every year. Vancouver.
An offer sheet though. That's the same thing with who the fuck did I just name? Winnipeg. I don't see Vancouver as necessarily being like a top tier contender. Like they can easily miss the playoffs next season. I wouldn't be surprised. So if you're the Canucks and you give up your first round pick, the next probably 2 to 3 first round picks for Mikhail Sergachev, when you already have Quinn Hughes.
Yeah.
I don't see Vancouver.
I just don't see Sergachev getting offer sheeted at all, to be honest, just based on those two parameters.
You're right. It's interesting though, because it's teams that can do it. Like they can offer sheet. It's just whether they will or whether they won't.
If it's viable for them or not.
Yeah, right. If it makes sense and it can improve their team long term, they will offer sheet. Yeah, just looking at it.
Realistically, I think Barzal getting offer sheet is more realistic than Sergachev.
I agree.
But
maybe it's not even Barzal. Maybe it's a guy like Pulak. maybe someone offer sheets Pulak. Like, you
that
know,
that would be Winnipeg. Winnipeg should
I
do
could
that.
see, dude, Winnipeg would need a guy like Pulak. Like, that's perfect. Or even the guy like Taves. Someone could offer sheet Devon Taves. Because I don't know if the Islanders can afford all of these RFAs without making a move.
Absolutely not. They
I don't
have to
think they
either
can.
move a big contract.
Okay, so
lose one of them.
say Barzell gets 8.5. Then that's $9.5 million for Pulak and Taves. I don't think that's out of the reach.
It depends.
It's definitely
Pulak-
cutting it close. I
Pulak's
think
gonna want a
5.5
decent amount.
minimum.
Yeah.
But Taves doesn't want 4, I don't think. Does he? 3.5, 3?
I don't know. That's again.
That's
they
I don't
probably
know
have
what
to move.
Taves. That's the thing.
They probably have to move someone.
Like they have a bunch of guys making money on that team. Like they definitely can move out because like their fourth line's making like $9 million. So they can definitely move around money there. All right. I think we're ready to wrap this one up.
Thank you so much for watching today's podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more hockey podcasts coming up. Make sure to watch our other podcast and also stay tuned for Chuckin Muffins daily uploads.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, turn the bell notification on. And yeah, that's a wrap. See you later, guys.